Three, two, I think we're live. Welcome to Corner Comics. This is the inaugural episode of the new comic book podcast on my YouTube channel. I'm joined by two gentlemen that I've known for almost 2 decades now. Both of them are probably just as much comic book geek as I am, if not bigger. So I've decided that we're going to get together, hopefully on a weekly basis, and have a little bit of a reading club for comic books. So, gentlemen, Mr. Emmanuel, how are you doing today?
Pew, pew, pew. I am good. I am well. Thank you for this whole thing. This is awesome. So, really excited. We're gonna hit the ball rolling. That's not how that saying goes, but hit the ground running. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do.
Russ, how are you doing today?
I'm doing amazing because God made me that way. So how can I be any less? And I am in amazing company. So I expect this every moment from this point forward, at least to the end of the podcast, to be wild and wonderful.
Awesome. I'm definitely looking forward to it as well. About 5 years ago, I tried to get this going and just couldn't quite make it work. We were using Google Hangouts and I was trying to scrape the audio off of it and put the MP3s up somewhere. Just didn't work. But with the Beerumvirate, I've figured out sort of a certain level of production quality that seems to be adequate, at least for right now, that we can do. And so, yeah, I like this format. Want to go ahead and get into it? Should we introduce each of our books first and then run down the list, or do you guys want to just take it one by one and just introduce the books as we go through the list?
Yeah, let's just go to the list. It's easy.
Okay. So we have 6 books. Each of us have picked 2. The 2 that I have are Doctor Strange issue 19, X-Men number 1, which is the one that just came out. Russ has Batman Universe number 1, but he encouraged us to read all 4. Admittedly, I only got through the first one. And Justice League Volume 4, issue 29. Then Emmanuel has picked Miles Morales Spider-Man issue number 11 and Batman Superman Volume 2, issue 2. So we're going to kind of go through each issue one by one. We'll talk about art, story, overall impressions. Probably get on a few tangents here and there. Maybe,
as we should.
Maybe even, as Russ has pointed out, a tangectory. So I'll go ahead and start. Doctor Strange issue number 19. This is the current run with Mark Waid as writer and Jesus Saiz as everything, apparently. This guy draws, inks, and colors the book.
You sure he's right? I thought someone else was drawing. Some guy named Jose something.
On the most recent issues, but for most of the run that he's been artist on the book, it's like him doing everything, which is crazy.
It looks amazing.
It does.
Yeah, so art, obviously, huge fan.
Yes. Yeah, this is the kind of art that if I had an omnibus book or something out on my coffee table, this is the art I want to show to my friends. I want to say this is the level of comic, we're operating at visually. So it's in that realm.
Story, Mark Waid. I feel like I haven't read enough of his stuff. If I'm not mistaken, he did a Daredevil run, correct?
Well, let me tell you, I love Mark Waid. He's one of my top 5 writers.
Okay.
Everything that he's interested in doing, I want to hear, I want to read what interests him, what puts his energy into. He had a website a ways back where he was free comics that were made for the web. I'm gonna find it.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I don't remember the name of it.
But that website still exists.
It does. I've run across it a few times.
But I liked it when it came out. I liked the idea of comics that were designed for a web experience.
Right.
So anyway, I like Mark Waid. I every time I'm at a con and he's there, I'm watching that panel. I like you know, some people you write, but you don't really care about who they are. You don't like them when they talk about themselves. I just
Mhm.
I like Mark Waid all around. So to say that Mark Waid is in the, so I had already started reading this series.
Okay.
I just
All right.
wasn't caught up to where you are. So I went on full on graphic novel style and read every issue up until that one. And
It's been a crazy run, like Doctor Strange in space, the new suit, like all that.
so I want to say something about Doctor Strange, and feel free to jump in, correct me. Doctor Strange has sold his soul 500,000 times. He can't have a soul. He can't. How can he even sell it if everybody else has got a piece of it somewhere else? You know what I mean? And I look at, I don't know a run where he's like, oh, I don't know what I'm gonna do, whatever. Let me go sell my soul, and then he'll go sell his soul, right? And I'll get more power, and I will stop the evil. But dude, right? I think he's more reckless than, you know. Tony Stark would call them, they're like, we're mustache bros or whatever.
Mhm.
Right? I think he
Yeah.
is the same level of recklessness, man. They're good at
He
their
is.
jobs, right? But he's basically the Tony Stark of magic.
Exactly. He is definitely one of the most unstable
Yes.
heroes in the Marvel universe.
He's not a nice guy. He can be nice, you know what I mean? Friends, you know, even Wong left him, right? Wong don't even roll with him no more, right? Or like, I'm tired of this shit. And he boned out, right? Come on.
Oh
Right?
man.
That's like, you know, if what's his name left Batman, if Alfred left Batman, you know Batman is truly
Yeah.
gone straight evil. And even then Alfred wouldn't give up. But Wong was down with him and left. There's no Wong in the castle, homie. What we gonna do, right? Right? There's no one that, you know, they say that Batman needs a Robin to keep him from going too far. Who stops him from selling another 1,000th of his soul? Who stops
That-
him?
The
Go
Eye
ahead.
of Agamotto, of course.
Well, because I got model just be like, I see what you're doing, but it ain't gonna stop you. I see you.
So
he has no conscience.
And so, you know, well, he has a conscience because I see him do kind things and help people like in his neighborhood, things like that. So he's not an evil dude, but self-centered. He's Tony Stark, man.
It's more of his sense of being the Sorcerer Supreme, I think. Like, my take on him is that he is, were he not so like obliged to doing good, he would be one of the most destructive forces in the Marvel universe. It's not necessarily his conscience like you see with other heroes, this unique bent to do right. I guess he has this doctor's code. I think more so than anything else, it's his doctor's code. Do no harm. That's pretty much his bent. His key to being the Sorcerer Supreme is to do no harm. And if he sees something vile being done, he'll aid in that, but he won't be as proactive as other heroes.
Yeah, and remember, he was an asshole before he got the powers anyway, right? He started out, he was introduced as an amazingly talented dumbass, Tony Stark for doctors, right? And then he lost that, and oh my God, what am I going to do? And he became Tony Stark for magic. Now, question about the Sorcerer Supreme conversation. Is he Sorcerer Supreme of the universe or of Earth?
I would say, I don't know. That's a tough one.
Yeah, I gotta say it's the Earth. There's no way he's Sorcerer Supreme of the Shi'ar dominance. There's no way he's Sorcerer Supreme of the Skrulls. You telling me Skrull ain't got no Sorcerer Supreme?
Well, it'll be interesting if anybody ever tackles that. Like, are there
But
other?
And so now I'm gonna go back and say, read issue 1 of this run,
Well, okay,
right? And that comes up.
yeah,
In the issue 1 of this run, he has no powers.
Hmm.
And anyway, I won't spoil the book because issue 1 is a great jumping on point. This issue, I feel like it was, except for the fact that, see, here's the thing, he's going to go evil. Once he got his hands back, it's like Daredevil who can see, right? Daredevil who can see is not jumping off a skyscraper. Fuck that,
all
right?
right. So, we should probably break down the story a little bit for anybody
Okay,
listening.
go ahead.
So essentially, what happens in this issue is a little boy is involved in a car accident. Doctor Strange comes to help out because it's an apparition, a ghost that has caused the accident. He realizes that this little boy is going to die. There's no way that they can get him to a hospital in time. He then goes to another plane of existence, makes a deal with a demon. I can't remember the book. It was a spell of something. I can't remember what it's called, but
It's a nasty looking demon that whose life is to keep all the jacked up spells that cost too much and you should never do.
right.
And he went to that dude, right?
So-
So I, Agamotto, were like, oh no, but he still went over there.
Right. So he makes a deal with this demon, gets the spell to restore his hands. He then uses that spell, restores his hands. He's now able to be a surgeon again, saves the little boy's life. But at what cost, we don't know. And that's the one thing. As he's leaving that dimension, the demon's like, you'll have to pay for this somehow.
The Book of the Even Odds.
That's
Well,
what it is. Yeah.
Okay, so let's just be real. I like Doctor Strange, just like I like Tony Stark. Tony Stark is an asshole, but I like him, right? We all do. And I like Doctor Strange in the same way. Here's the thing. Doctor Strange has infinite number of spells. Are you telling me he couldn't put the boy in stasis? Are you telling me he couldn't teleport the boy to the hospital? Oh, he's so arrogant. I have to save him. I need my hands. And then I'm going to sell a piece of my soul. That's some Tony Stark level arrogance if ever there was.
Oh, of course.
He got all the powers to get this fixed, man. He knows other doctors. He could have teleported them immediately right there. He could have put the boy in stasis so no time passed. We know he can do these things. This isn't super magic. This is just commonplace magic. He could have wrapped him in the cloak of levitation, which would have protected him. He could have done all kind of things. But no, I have to be the one. These hands must save him. So I'm a little go ahead. I'm sorry. Jump in, Emmanuel.
No, I'm looking. He actually did reference not moving him, and it's maybe to your point that he didn't want to move him because he didn't want to disrupt the exact. Hold on, I'm really trying to look for the phrase he made.
The exact
Because it's to your point that he's puffing up himself, that no other specialist might be qualified within this immediate area. Bringing a surgeon here isn't an option. I'll never find one gifted enough in time. That's an exact quote. So yeah, to your point, he is playing up himself. He definitely is team supreme all the way, like team himself.
I feel like, first of all, how long since he last time he practiced medicine? 72 years? I don't know how many. A lot, right? We got some new shit since then, right? We can fix shit now. Not shit that you could, it's not like it was 5 years ago, right? If you stay out of medical profession for 5 years, you basically an antiquated quack, right?
Yeah.
He's been out for what, at least in comic time, at least 10 years?
Yeah.
How is he the best surgeon of all time? Get the frack out of here. I call Amadeus Cho in to do it or something. Somebody, anybody. Really? That's just, look, like I said, I love Doctor Strange. I enjoyed the book, but the book made me mad. Okay. I like the plot point. I like the idea of exploring who he is with his hands. That's interesting, right? So I have to say that's an interesting premise. It should have been done a long time ago. I'm glad Mark Waid is the one to take us down this path. But go ahead.
There was a picture on Instagram actually promoting this very issue where it had Doctor Strange saying an incantation, kind of alluding to this moment where the child was in danger, and then his hands disappearing. That's one of the most pivotal pieces of the story, I think, and that it really details the art too. And it could have went either way. It could have been he was doomed to live without any hands and his magic is completely gone, or he got his hands back and he's a surgeon again. Yeah. It really enticed me to actually read the series.
Now, there's another issue after this.
There is.
And I'm not going to spoil it, but more in that conversation. And we still don't know the actual cost, but
well, that was the part of the reason I decided to choose this issue, because it does set up that quandary and that situation of when is he going to have to pay the piper, and at what cost is it going to be?
And that part, the pay the piper part, I figure has always been part of Doctor Strange. Every good run has you have to pay the piper. every good run, as you have to, because he sold his soul 365 times, right? Right. And I don't know where the interest lies, but and in fact, I won't say the selling the soul part, but paying back is sort of part of this series. This run is a very worthy run. So if you're not reading Doctor Strange at all, outside this issue that just pissed me off, it's a very good run. It's very much worth your time. The story is there. The art is amazing. It's fun to look at. It
Yeah.
goes into areas that we don't often see. Mark Waid, stuck his foot in it as usual. So I would highly recommend this run. I just don't. I just feel like, how, what was it? The no prize where you can say this didn't have to go this way. I feel like he didn't occur to him to put the kid in stasis or teleport him without actually moving him physically. I felt like that's missed something there. Now he could have put something in the plot to make that not possible, and I would have been okay with it. But it's just too easy. I'm a novice. I can't do all the whatever. But I know to put him in stasis if he's dying, right? That's kind of that's like 101, right?
Yeah.
And then at least until somebody can come to help him,
Okay.
and
He
then
did say
fight the
that he
bad guy.
can't think of a single enchantment that could possibly be of use under the circumstances. He did say he can't think of any enchantment. So maybe adrenaline was running high. Yes, he's a doctor, but
Dude,
he
the
couldn't
guy fought
think of anything.
Galactus. There's no adrenaline. He's not used to adrenaline by now. He's fought Galactus, right? Come on. He's protected the entire planet from threats that are beyond this dimension. But the adrenaline.
But this is a child, though. This is a child.
Yeah, see, even your tone belies your points. Look, like I said, I enjoyed the book. It looks great. It's an interesting path to take, and I will follow it. But it just seems like it's very simple that could have gone differently.
Yeah.
I don't think those bases were covered. But what you said about the hands, totally agree. I was like, when the hands went away,
Yeah, when they
oh my
disappeared,
God,
it's like,
right? I thought they was going to come back as octopus, squid, or not there, or stumps, and
Yeah.
not be there at all. And then who is Doctor Strange when he doesn't have his hands? And
Right.
that would have been an interesting tack, right? This is also interesting, but I don't want to say. I felt like this storyline is something that was always coming. But if you made him a magic user without hands at all, I think that might have been more interesting if I would have chose, right? Because you'd want to know, like, how is he doing that? If Doctor Strange has no hands, right, and he can't, how does he protect the universe? I want to follow that. This is how we gonna deal with his friggin' ego, because this is gonna be an ego conversation. This Tony Stark drinking. This is what this is.
He'll just use Wanda.
Yeah, right.
She'll do all her stuff for him.
I guess so, but then Wanda gotta have a life, and who is even Wanda with now? And is Wanda welcomed? Do we see Wanda and Quicksilver on Krakoa, or is that another conversation?
I think that's a good segue.
Okay,
to get into the next book. So my second pick for this week is X-Men #1. This is the Jonathan Hickman run, the first regular X book after House of X and Powers of X, which sets up an entirely new X verse to be explored. So this book is art by Leinil Francis Yu, as well as a couple other people. I thought it was just one guy in the book, but I think there's a couple artists. And then obviously a story by Hickman. This is sort of the follow-up in the first actual issue after the House of X, Powers of X story arc. Boy, do I not have much to say. I'm kind of disappointed.
Okay.
I think there's an overwhelming consensus about that.
I'm Emmanuel, please lead us. Tell us what you think about this.
All right, so I am not much of a X-Men reader simply because there's so much exposition, there's so much talk and not enough action. Now, I understand that it has to be a build-up. You have to experience the plot. You have to understand the plot and know the backstory. Who's doing what for what motive. I get that. But here, this is indicative of everything I dislike about X-Men comics. Sorry, Matt,
That's
but
fine.
but like I love the characters. There's so much potential that could be done, and I really like the fact that it's not. This has been done time and time again, but I really like the fact that it's not Professor Xavier as the patriarch, as the one that everyone is being led by this moral compass. It's actually Magneto. I really like that. That's the whole um, Malcolm X versus Malcolm. I'm sorry, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King. Wow, like that battle between who was really right. Do we do it by force or do we do it by just subversion and just take our time and wait for the good to actually recognize itself between the bad guys? I like that, but it just took a long time.
Okay, so more to your point, yes, it's a lot of reading, but so you have, and I can tell now that you haven't read House of X and Powers of X,
I have not on
which,
purpose.
and you shouldn't, because if there was ever a reading in comic books, House of X and Powers of X has written a novel,
Yeah.
right? Just not even they like have entire pages of just words.
I'm
Yeah.
okay with novels, just as
Okay.
a novel.
So I'm going to say this. It's important to get a better understanding of this book that you go and read House of X and Powers of X, because that is where the needle change. First of all, this is not at that level. House of X, Powers of X will challenge your thinking. That's one. Second, I still feel like Xavier, even though it doesn't show it in this book, I feel like Xavier is insidious, and the actual, and I think him and Magneto are working together like brothers, but I don't know. I still feel like if you go back to House of X and Powers of X, because Magneto can't get in your mind, right?
Yeah.
Xavier can put things in your mind that you think are yours,
Yes.
right? So I still feel like, now that's a whole, because we can talk about House of X and Powers of X in another situation. For me, this X-Men #1 comic, serviceable art,
Yeah.
not amazing, but serviceable. But it was like almost like a prequel. It's like it wasn't enough going on there to make me care. It was like it's all set up. Like, there's a lot there that can happen down the line, because they got the Crazy Summers brothers there. The third one,
Yeah.
that we
Vulcan.
know is insane, that went up against the entire Imperium or whatever, right? And he's there kicking it like you guys want some salad and shit. You know what I'm saying? And you can hear the way he talks. He's broken as all hell, right? So we know he's broken. Then we have young age Cable, D-Age Cable, and he was in another run which I watched, but he was never this young in his talking.
Yeah. Yeah.
And go ahead.
I feel like it's a missed opportunity, because House of X, Powers of X was so much exposition and so much setup. Nothing really happened in this issue.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the big disappointment. It was like, okay, I just spent the last 12 weeks, every single week, going to the comic shop to pick up the new issue, and I'm on week 13 and there's still no payoff.
Yes.
And it's just the Summers family. This is what the book's going to be. Like, there's nothing else going on.
And then there's another thing. Jean Grey is sort of amazingly silent. Am I wrong? Why isn't she important?
Yeah.
See, this is Phoenix. And then what's the other Phoenix? Prestige. Rachel Summers. She's in it, right?
Yeah.
Right. I don't even know why she called herself Prestige. She still got the hound mask stuff on her face, right? But you don't hear anything from the women. This is all the men talking, right? Right. You get a little stormification, because Storm can stand up to any man, right? But other than that, it's all men, right? And then the rest is mostly all Summers. As soon as we get back from the thing, and we know that Cyclops by himself, without a woman to keep him off this thing, is not a fucking good thing. Cyclops is best when he got his woman with him, whoever that woman is. Am I right?
Right.
The best Cyclops, when he got Jean with him, he's amazing. When he got who I love,
Emma Frost.
Emma Frost with him, he's more amazing, because fuck Jean. But anyway, I don't know. Can we cuss on the podcast? I didn't know if that was a thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't care.
Okay, good. But even in House of X and Powers of X, can you remember anything that Jean felt? Is she even in this story other than visually? And why is she wearing that old shit? It's with the green costume and shit.
Well, it's all right. So part of me feels like this is just a giant Hickman troll. Like, I think we're gonna get to, I don't know, 2022, and it's gonna be revealed that, you know, everything we've read, the 100 issues by that time, is like this alternate universe, and it was always gonna be a little fucked up and weird, and it wasn't actually Earth 616. It wasn't a reboot, you know, like, I don't know, man.
I think, and I've said this before to you, I think X-Men should not be in the Marvel universe. They should be in the Marvel adjacent universe.
It kind of exists that way. I mean,
because if you think about it, there's all this stuff happening in X. How many times did X-Men save the world and not a Captain America to be seen?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Not a Spider-Man to be seen. How many times have they fought aliens and not an Iron Man around? Right? It's like, well, we just gonna tell our story. You know, that's how I feel like in the new, you know, with the MCU, with Spider-Man being in the Sony universe and now also being able to exist in the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of how X-Men is. And because that's a lot, when you read all the exposition that's in House of X and Powers of X, that is world building. That is universe building.
Yeah.
And what? Just the Fantastic Four happened to be in a couple panels. That's it. And all of that that's happening?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Come on now. Iron Man at the very least should be, we need to send some Iron Bots in on this shit to pick it out. But nothing, right? And first of all, you know, what X-Men have that the rest of the heroes don't have is a multitude of telepaths.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And when you look in the Avengers, who's the Avengers telepath? Ooh, there isn't one. When you look at these other teams, who's the Avengers? But when you look at any X-Men team has at least one telepath on every team. It could be 12 teams. They got a telepath for everybody, right? And all of them now have had the Phoenix for quite a little bit, so their power's been increased, right? It's like the Phoenix moves around as a new telepath that I haven't kissed yet. Boom, let me give you.
You get a telepath. You get a telepath. You get a telepath.
It's funny you said that. I don't know if you're reading Thor at all, but are you familiar with Thori the Murder Dog?
No.
Okay, I'm gonna have to find a book. Thori the Murder Dog is a hellhound who is now Thor's dog, and Thori likes to murder, and he can talk, right? Who does Master want me to murder now, right? And the reason I said that, there's a book where Thor is fighting somebody, and Thori is in there. Thori's like, you get a murder, and you get a murder. And I was like, yes, because you know I like that kind of stuff, right? That's why I picked the books I picked, right? Thori is my favorite non-human character in Marvel Comics right now.
Is he like what's Black Bolt's dog? The Inhuman dog.
Yeah, he's not. He's smaller. He's not as wide. He looks like a regular dog, just bigger.
Okay.
Right, because you know, but he's an Asgard. He's from Asgard.
Okay.
So and you know he doesn't have problem murdering and dismembering for his master. And then there's parts where he somehow is separated from Thor. He's with a other bunch of heroes, and there's some cat people, and he says, I knew Thori shouldn't trust these beings. Thori knew all along, right? Because they're cats. And I'm like, Thori is amazing.
So he speaks in first person?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, but he's the English is a second language. So what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
But Thori, if Thori had his own book, dude, I would have put that book on the list.
Thori the Murder Dog.
Thori the Murder Dog. Just type in Thori.
Okay.
Anyway, but back to X-Men because we need to finish it up.
Yeah.
Right? This book is not enough.
No.
If it's part of a graphic novel where there are 8 books, perhaps. But I would say wait. And I don't know that if you'll miss anything if you start in issue number 2. I don't know what do you really need to know. And first of all, and look, all these Summers is broken. Am I wrong? We already know Havoc is broken. We already know Cyclops is broken. We know the third Summers is broken. We know Cable Jr. is on his way to being broken if he's not already there. We know Cyclops' father. Remember I put Summers and Summers and Summers and Summers.
Yeah.
We know Cyclops' father is broken.
Right.
Right? These are all broken dudes. And I love them. My heart goes out to them. But how you start an issue with a whole bunch of broken people, it's not going to end well. Come on. we already know it's going to happen. At least 2 Summers got to die,
Yeah.
right? And does Jean get to talk? I mean, other than pass the peas? You
I
don't
don't
let
know.
no women talk in here. Is this the man thing going on?
You know, do you guys read IO9?
I'm not familiar with it. Let me
I
add it
don't
to my
know.
list. Oh yeah, you mean the website?
The
Yeah,
website IO9, yeah.
yeah, I'm familiar with it.
If you want to ruin X-Men forever, there's an article about X-Men 1 that you can read. And it goes into detail about the diagram of the Summers house and sort of the dynamic between some of the characters involving Jean.
And I noticed some
Yeah.
other things. I don't know if you have the book up, but when they show the diagram of the house, the numbering.
Yes, I wanted to get on that. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah, the numbering is jacked up, like 132 798. I'm like, what? Who did they give this to? An intern? You can't even number the rooms correctly, and you're
No,
setting up something audacious for the X-Men.
It's I think it's meant to do that. Like all of the diagrams and stuff have all been to obfuscate certain things and to make you dig into other parts of it. Like I don't know. I'm really curious to see what the hell happens maybe 6 months from now.
Yeah, I'm
And
not putting my hopes in this book. I'm
No.
looking for the next X book.
Yeah. So
Coming
we'll
from
move
my
on.
perspective, There was before we move on.
Okay.
Coming from my perspective, I really, really liked X-Men growing up. Really loved it. But somewhere along the line, I'm not sure whose run, but it died. My love for all the X-Men characters, everyone, and Wolverine included, because it's gone. And I'm looking for some sort of revision. I'm looking for some sort of resurrection in that, a book to actually take my love and bring it back, because I want to love them. I want to be engaged in the text.
I
It
think
hasn't-
House of X and Powers of X, that series, is worth your time. That might do it.
Okay.
Then you'll skip over this X-Men #1.
Maybe.
And one side thing. You guys getting the Disney streaming service?
Yeah, it's like $4 to add onto Hulu, right?
Yeah, So because when you think about it, even if it's $6 or $7, that was less than my breakfast.
Right.
So in the scheme of things, I probably, because I really do need to rewatch every Darkwing Duck episode. I feel it's my responsibility
Mandatory.
to go right. I because I'm older now and I have a new perspective, and this will make me understand the material better. So I think it's a no-brainer to get the Disney streaming service. Not even counting the new Marvel cinematic universe TV shows that are coming, right? And I argue, well, it's another streaming service. I'm like, but really, $6, $7 doesn't change anything about my life. I will not notice at the end of the month that I have $6 short of my rent. That's not going to happen. You know what I mean? So
yeah, what gets me is it's an add-on to Hulu, so it's not another bill.
There you go. And if you really want to do, because they have that thing with ESPN, right? You can get Hulu, ESPN, and that for like $13.
Right.
So if you're a sports guy, I think that's a no-brainer. Right? That's kind of the same price as Netflix is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think I know the streaming wars are coming. Everyone's gearing up. It's just like another Marvel event that's coming. The streaming wars will happen. You see them. We've seen the stories of how AT&T and WB own HBO, and they got their HBO thing coming. And HBO is a call for me. I might feel like I need that. And they also have the WB, which means all DC. So they might be able to get my money, but we know only 3 or 4 will survive the onslaught. Netflix will not die. Amazon doesn't need to survive. It will survive, but this is not its income stream source. So it's okay. It won't die.
Right.
Hulu probably won't die. This is my theory. Hulu probably won't die because it's still the most live TV-ish kind of thing. And I don't actually pay for it. I shared with a friend. But I think Hulu will survive, and Disney, just due to their library alone, let alone the new things like The Mandalorian and all the Marvel stuff, they will survive. Everyone else will probably die.
The impending media apocalypse.
Yes. It is, right? And who among them will rise?
Nice.
All right, Russ, you want to get into your books?
Yeah,
Your
so
first one?
my first book is Batman Universe. I won't even say number one because you should never stop there. It is basically like everything you loved about Batman the animated series, plus a little bit of the Brave and Bold built in, with the because I'm Batman type stuff is going on, and it is action, all in one. It's you can't eat just one. If you read the first one, you have to go into the second one, and the second one just it's like potato chips and soda. You eat potato chips, you drink the soda. You need more chips, you drink more soda, and it's all good. And you don't even keep track of how much you're consuming, but it's lovely to be in the space. This is my introduction of the kind of Batman that brought me in the comics that makes me feel good. When you read the book, you feel good. Spider-Man used to do that, not anymore. This book it's just fun. And it's not fun like, they used to make these watered down books that are kind of fun, but you can tell it's never going anywhere. But this has some meat to it and it's still fun. Please tell me your thoughts.
I really liked the art in that it's cartoony. It's very when I initially saw it, the cover art, I really thought it was Batman and the Ninja Turtles because they're doing their thing, but that's because of all the green. But it's really really good. It fits the style because to get into Mr. Alfred's commentary really makes it. It's great. It's well done. His comedy and his wit, it's appropriate timing. So I really like the whole story.
Thumbs up. Thumbs up. So the art you liked and the story you liked. All right.
Yes.
Young Master Kane, what you got for me?
So the art, originally I put rushed ? And then I changed it to fast paced in our notes. It's got a sketchy quality to it that I don't particularly care for, but I feel like it does work in the context of how fast everything's moving. I mean, Brian Michael Bendis, we can talk a little bit about the fact that he's writing it. I have a love-hate relationship with Bendis. He's done a lot of things that I really like, and then he'll do other things. I'm like, God damn it, why'd you do that? I was along for so long. But this feels like Bendis's audition or his application to join DC. The one page with Batman climbing up the side of a building, that kind of sold it for me. I was like, all right, I'm into this now. I can finish the rest of the story for this issue.
All right. I got one. All right. So, for me, on the face of it, I'm not a fan of the art, but it fits the story and how it's told. So I let it go. So I'm sort of with you, Matt, on that.
Yeah.
The art alone did not draw me into this book, but once I started getting into the book, the art was part of the conversation. So I was all in, and I've read the 4 books so far. And if you think this is crazy, it just gets even crazier in the next one, and you're gonna love it the same way. And then it's gonna get crazier in the one after that, and it's just like a good. If Batman the animated series was like 2 hours long, there would just be art. Not say Batman animated series, but more Batman Brave and the Bold. It's 2 hours long. It would just keep it rolling like that, and I like that. So I picked that because of the feels I got, and I wanted to share those feels with you guys because this is part of the reason we read comics. We want those feels. We want to feel like that.
Yeah.
So there was a panel specifically when I talk about the art. There's a panel specifically where it's just his the cowl and his eyes. You can see his nose of Batman. There's no text. There's no words. It's just his scowl in the cowl. It was great. I really really liked it. Scowl in the cowl, trademark.
So I like Bendis only in that Bendis is not afraid to shake up the status quo and change things in some dramatic fashion for good or for ill. I can count on Bendis to destroy the old ways just because he can, and they let him. They should never let him. and so I like that he just did what he wanted to do, and this works for me. This as an ongoing, like if this, imagine if this was an animated series and it just went action to action. You know what I mean? You would watch that, right? If this was an animated series and all these things happened, that would be enjoyable to watch. This is an animated series in comic form. Not
Yeah.
like the comic version of an animated series. This is the animated series that can be, anyway, that's how I see it.
One of the few DC books that I was buying a couple of years ago was Batman Beyond Universe. I feel like DC with the universe like byline or tag or whatever it is, those books. Huh?
Drop in quality tend to.
Well, there's a little drop in quality, but they're fun. Like Batman Beyond Universe, they had the Justice Lords, and it was like this crazy, and it was good. So I don't know. It's interesting to see that this is what Bendis is sort of wetting his feet with, because I don't think he's written too much else for DC yet.
I don't know. I'm sure
He has done a run where John Kent, the son of Lois and Superman, I don't want to spoil it, but like there's something that happens to him.
Yes.
And it's kind of controversial.
Okay.
I love it. I'm gonna tell you, I'm always in, because you guys don't bring a lot of DCs to the table, so I feel like I'm obligated. I always say for me, often the better comics are when you take the Super 7 off the table. Super 7 meaning all the Justice League. If all Justice League is gone, who left to make these stories? What other characters? Those characters are more interesting to me. When you take off all the main Avengers off the story, there was an Avengers animated series before the current one that only went 2 seasons. Was it Avengers Assemble or something? Right?
Yeah.
And then what happened in one of the books is all the Avengers were killed, and Iron Man hit a button to create the backup Avengers, and as if they never existed. And this is animated, right? And so the call went out, right? And Spider-Man, Wolverine at his correct height, right? All these other characters sort of came out of woodwork, and that was so interesting. I would have rather seen them, right? If you take away your Thor, your Iron Man, your Doctor Strange, who are the main, Avengers people, Captain America, when you take them away, those people that are left, for me, often are the most interesting. And so going back to this conversation of Young Justice, which is amazing, John Kent, which is amazing, those people, even if you take away Spider-Man, but you leave Miles, those people are often more interesting than the people we know. Right? But we will never kill him. We're never going to kill Captain America forever. We're never going to kill Tony Stark forever. We're going to, we just take them away for a while.
But are we then left with just Young Justice, their apprentices?
Well, no.
The knockoff versions of them, maybe like Falcon America?
No, we're not, because there are unique heroes that are not necessarily, think of Moon Knight. That's not a young guy, right? But skill, right. And he's got everything Batman has, right? He's got the moon cave, the moon copter, the moonarangs. He's got the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Cape, all of that, and a sidekick to fly him around in the moon copter.
And a serious case of schizophrenia.
Bigger mental problem than Bruce Wayne does.
Yeah. But, and I think it's because that's the thing. Is Bruce Wayne crazy? Why do we act like he's not? I wrote a thing in a thing. If Batman is so amazing and he can lead the Justice League and save the planet, how come you can't safely walk the streets in Gotham? He is a friggin' failure. Am I wrong? No. With all the Bat technology and the Bat knowledge and the Bat assistance and the 52 Robins and the 100 Batwoman people and everyone else, you still cannot get home from the theater if you take the subway. What is up with that?
Well, yeah. I mean, we have another Batman issue coming up later on, one of Manuel's picks, and I feel like I'll have more to speak on the character of Batman in that one.
All right. So yeah, because I went too far. I apologize. But Brian Michael Bendis, I like his take on this. It is fun. And it is fun and worthy of a buy. I would say it's worthy of a buy, as opposed to a buy versus just read it.
Right.
I
Yeah.
think this series, and I think especially if once it goes to graphic novel form, this is just amazing read. Like if you want to get somebody into comics
Yeah.
and you have all these in a graphic novel, you sit the kid down with that, you got you another comic lover.
Yeah.
I think this is that kind of thing.
Yeah.
All right. So my next book, Justice League number 29. It's not the most current, but I felt this was amazing because it also touched that itch. Because as you know, I guess they took a piece of Starro. Starro was like the first really Justice League villain, right? They showed him the Justice League was created fighting Starro or whatever. So there's I guess a sliver of Starro grown in a jar, and they named it Jarro, right? And Batman trained it, right? I mean, why not, right? And Batman trained it, and Jarro thinks it is a Robin, right? And this book really just blows up Jarro's view of what Batman is. It's like Batman read. It's like Jarro read the book we were just talking about, right? And then he decided he was Robin, and Batman like is down with it. Batman does not disabuse him of this notion. Jarro, when Batman says jump, Jarro says how high, and Batman says destroy this mine. Jarro's yes, Pop, and he calls him Pop. No Robin ever called Batman Pop. Come on, right? So so the heart, there's so much heart in this issue, and there's a bigger like I would want people to read this whole series because basically they're redoing the New 52 correctly and they're bringing everything back. So this series brings back every version of justice throughout the history, including DC 1 million, including the Justice Society, including a bunch of alternatives, all in this series. But this book is about Jarro. Please let me know.
Emmanuel,
There's a
you wanna go
lot
first?
Well, all right. There's a lot of panels that I really, really like in this. Just the art itself, it's reminiscent to me. I really can't explain it, but it's more detective style. Just when you go to the individual panels, when it's detailing one person, it just seems like there's a lot of character and a lot of emotion in that figure, in that picture. So it screams to me like noir detective style comics. But one panel, there's always to me one panel that encapsulates the whole book itself. There's one panel where the evil guys, you have Lex, you have Sinestro, you have Cheetah, you have Gorilla Grodd. They're all seeing Jarro for the first time, and their reaction, that smirk, humor, and a bit of surprise, is like that's the face that I have when I'm reading the whole book. Like this humor, it doesn't take itself too seriously. Jarro's character itself it's amusing. I like it. The fact that you have Starro as a Robin, that's something I had never thought to do before in my mind. Just combine the two. So it was fun. I really liked it.
Matt?
So I was, my wife and I were walking the dog the other night, and I was trying to explain to her what we were going to do with the podcast, and I was going over the comics that we had in our list, and I came to this one, and she was like, "Well, what's that about? What are you talking about? Starro, Jarro, this and that?" And I was like, "Look, when we get back to the house, I'm going to show you a panel where Batman is hugging a starfish, and that explains the entire comic."
Yes. Yes.
This is so absurdly you, Russ. Like I I don't even know what to say. Like it's so weird.
My thought is these are books that these guys are not going to read. They're not going to know these books exist, and they're missing something in their lives.
Yes.
And I want to show you that DC has something for you. Even if you're not DC people, there's something for you to bring you joy, man, to bring you some smiles on your face. You know what I mean? That Marvel isn't always the best at doing. Right?
Yeah.
Because DC, it's funny because some ways DC is more Disney than Marvel ever was. You know what I mean? It's more like truth and justice and, all of that more, which would be amazing. Imagine if Disney owned DC instead of Marvel. What the world might be like now. Now that's something to write. But there's some joy. There's some just want to just have fun and play with these toys and just make you smile and laugh. Just for we don't have to need all that exposition. Just have fun. And I'm gonna make it look good, and I'm going to just take you and I'm not gonna let you get bored because I'm gonna throw some more absurdity at you that's gonna tickle you. And DC, and it's not all DC books are doing this by any means, but there's a lot in DC. Why I am still a DC fan, not over Marvel, but with Marvel. That DC gives you these moments to me more than Marvel. And somebody got to toot the horn, put the word out, and that is me.
I'm really surprised that this was written by Scott Snyder. Like I I just imagine him like in a room smoking a joint and be like, dude, this is what we got to do.
Right? It's imagine if we got together and be like, we should do this, and then we're all smoking, and it just came out, and then by we were done, we had this book.
Right. Yeah, it's like, well, I guess we got to publish it now. But I don't know. Yeah, it was good. The artwork, the faces are what make this book. So everything outside of the faces is kind of just typical comic book fare. But
agreed.
But the faces, there's so many good panels with like great facial expressions.
Yes.
The very end of the book with Flash and Green Lantern, like just yeah. Those are my thoughts. I thought it was a good book. Like I enjoyed it, and it was weird enough that I just had to keep reading it. So that was yeah.
All right, I got two. I'll be back again next week, y'all. I got you covered.
All right, Emmanuel, you want to get into your books?
All right. So my first pick was Miles Morales, Spider-Man, number 11. And it's actually, it picks up. It's not an introduction by any means. It's kind of in the middle of a story already, where you see Miles, he's struggling internally. Something big happened to him. He got kidnapped and he got tortured. And it wasn't just the Spider-Man Miles. It was him, Miles Morales. He got tortured and it was traumatizing. And now he's kind of battling with that. Should I still be Spider-Man? What does that look like? What does Spider-Man look like for me? Because he has different motives from Peter Parker. His uncle didn't die in this incarnation. So he's wrestling with how do I be Spider-Man? How do I wrestle with my own humanity, my own love for life? Like he's a kid. He's for all intents and purposes, 17, 16, 18. They're very vague on his age. But as mentioned before, like he still likes Jordans. He still likes to go out on dates with his girlfriend or have a girlfriend and just vibe with his friends. So he's wrestling with superhero life and being a kid. And I really like it. It's compelling.
Okay, I'll go. You don't often, it's funny, art-wise. I never really found a bad Miles Morales art. Like whoever does them, it's not always amazing, but there's some love for Miles Morales. You don't see him in terrible art. You would kind of know what you remember, right? So the art is good here. I don't like the coloring. Maybe sometimes some things seem a little faded more than others. But the art is more than serviceable. It is good art. I feel like there was a good story before this book, and there'll be a good story after this book.
Yeah.
But this book is just mulling over what happened and what is to come, more than giving me something that I need to buy and bring to my home. All right. It's worth reading, but I wouldn't say it was a buy because there's nothing in it that, for me, that is something I'm going to remember sort of years later. Right. I'm going to talk about Jarl forever, but
as you should.
As it should, yeah. But I'm not. This issue doesn't bring anything up to me of that. It doesn't feel like it changes the status quo. I don't feel like it introduces anybody important that we need to remember. It's not a bad book. It's a serviceable book, but something that did come up for me was the web fluid issue
Hmm.
because he doesn't have a job. He's at a prestigious school, which you got to do a lot of studying. He's still fighting crime at night. Where, because Peter Parker never could afford web fluid, where is he supposed to get web fluid? And does the new Spider-Man, this Spider-Man, live a life web fluid free? Because there is no income for it, and we can't take it from stolen people because that would be bad.
Mhm.
So, and he doesn't have time to get a job because he can barely, he's already on probation, right? He can barely keep up with the school. So, how do you justify him having access to web fluid moving forward? Does his best friend spend his allowance every month so that he can fight crime, and his best friend's not even there? It's not even the guy in the chair, really. So, and you know that interests me. The idea of Spider-Man without web fluid. What is that viable? What would that be like? Because I can't see him find. How is he going to get money? Is he going to start a podcast? What is he going to do to afford? Because Peter Parker has said many times, web fluid is expensive.
Yeah.
But, go ahead.
Whispering Genki makes it, but
He's still got to pay for the materials.
Yeah,
Exactly.
you gotta get the stuff to
Runs
do
out.
that.
Right? So what? Genki got to spend all the money, and then he gets the glory and the shoes.
Here lies the rift.
Right? Did you get shoes for Genki? No. Right? I'm like, I need 2 pair because my homie. Right? I mean, that's how you get out. Right? He didn't do that. Right? Dope shoes, bro. And that's it. Right? But you can't afford them. So I mean, I don't feel like he's looking out for his homie. Right? And then I look at the series moving forward, and they are friends, but it really seems one-sided. I can see Yankee getting mad and going partially evil in the near future, because what's in this for him, right? He's not even acknowledgement, because if you look at it, did he anyway said, I appreciate what you've been doing so far and thank you? No. And I know he's a kid, so kids don't come up with that shit. I get it, right? But that also means that Genki's a kid and likely to get emotional and turn into a supervillain. Right? Genki knows how to make web fluid. What else can he do?
Yeah.
Right? Is he the new tinkerer? Right?
Oh gosh.
Right?
That'd be
Genki knows
great.
how to make web fluid. The average chemist cannot make web fluid. Genki knows how to do it, knows how to get the chemicals, put them together, and create something. All on the school lab. Imagine if he had his own lab. Imagine if he was at Horizon Labs. What might Genki be able to do? And Genki is still 16. Right? You haven't played that up. Plus, he got the sumo wrestler bodies. Maybe we can give him powers later, But anyway, the book was, because I like Miles, is really for me the only reason for me to read the book, because I already like the character. I don't feel like the book moved that forward. Gave me a couple things to think about. It's like, like all the episodes of a show can't be great.
Right.
This one wasn't bad. It just wasn't great. That's my opinion on that book.
I think I like it a little more than Russ. I don't get the colors thing. I'm curious. Are there any particular pages where the colors?
Let me find one for you.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Because I like the artwork. I felt like it was fluid. It feels like Spider-Man. The different angles that they chose for the different panels were good. I like that, even though I don't really read Spider-Man that much, and I haven't really kept up on Ultimate Comics Spider-Man or Miles Morales. This was a good intro issue because it introduces villains that I've never seen before, at least on this level, right? In terms of the gang that he runs into.
Mm-hmm.
There's a weird drug that we don't know anything about that I'm curious to learn more of. Yeah, I thought overall it was good. I've never actually, I've never read anything by the guy that did this book. I don't think I've ever seen the artwork from the guys that are working on this. So it's a good primer if you've never gotten into Miles Morales before. It's kind of interesting because Miles Morales is like what DC's been doing all along with changing who the individual is that it is the superhero.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why Marvel had never thought to do that before.
Must be a particular writer that brings that to the table.
Right. So yeah, I liked it. I thought it was really good. I'm kind of curious to see what happens. So I might pick up the next issue.
Well, and I have the added thing of I read all the issues before this because I'm gonna read everything Miles.
Okay.
Right. So the one where he was kidnapped, that
Mm-hmm.
story was hella deep and hella compelling.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then I go to this and it's like, you know what I mean? It's not bad. It's just It's just like House of X and Powers of X, then go into X-Men.
Mm.
Okay.
Right? And like, I'm not saying it's bad, but I don't mind. I've read it, but is this a book you need to bring home? Or is this a book? Go ahead.
Is this the start of a new arc entirely, or is it
Talk
still?
to the wrong guy. You talk to.
See, here's the thing. This is what I anticipate because they're setting up so much with Miles Morales, him being kidnapped and his identity. He doesn't want to be Spider-Man like Peter Parker. He wants to be Spider-Man like Miles Morales would be Spider-Man. And what does that look like? He's been questioning himself throughout the issues with, do I even really want to be Spider-Man? And to me, it seems different than Spider-Man No More when Peter Parker did it, because of course, Peter Parker is quintessential Spider-Man, whereas Miles Morales, maybe not. Maybe he can take on a new identity. What does that look like? I don't know.
I like Miles Morales as a James Bond kind of agent. Of
Yes.
because all those powers are not obvious, right?
Mm-hmm.
We got an idea of what he might look like because of this other Miles Morales in the universe.
He can go invisible. He can do the Venom Blast.
Right. All these things, plus the strength, plus the speed. You put him in a suit at 22 years old and you train him because he already got some skills. And then you send him in the field. And then Genki is his cue.
And in the chair.
And in the chair. That's a book. Come on, man. All day long I read that. You know what I mean? So I think Miles Morales is as a person, because there's other Spider people that should be doing better and not. Like, remember there was a young Spider Woman. What happened to her? Right? There was a Spider,
the Asian woman.
Silk. Silk is actually, there's a bunch of books in the Asian part of the universe now that she's in, but she's not. Otherwise, you don't see her, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. They got. I don't know if you've been following, but I don't want to say Agents of Shield. Jimmy Woo. You know who Jimmy Woo is? You're gonna make me look it up. Let me go so I can tell you better. Jimmy Woo was an agent of Shield. He also played in the last Ant-Man movie. That Asian guy in the Ant-Man movie, that Asian agent.
Okay.
Okay.
But that was more comedy. So Jimmy Woo is a secret agent of Shield from like during the Fury days, right? So think of him as sort of an agent at the level of Fury. You know, I mean, he's that good. He has his own group. They called, and he started under Fury. He had his own group for a while. He even had his own sort of Avengers type of group. But he mainly operates in the Asian, Pan-Pacific, whatever area, right? So there's a whole entire group. Amadeus Cho is a member. Silk is a member, and then just members from different Asian nations. Some of them are new to Marvel, and some of them you may remember. There's a little girl who knows kung fu, but she calls upon an ancient Asian bear who's like 20 feet tall and does all her moves and knocks people out or whatever, right? There's this kind of, I know, and it sounds funny.
I'm beginning to see a theme with you, Russ.
Hey, man, you like it. You like it already. I don't even know why you can't say anything negative. You like it the way I tell it. You know you do. And when I find it, you'll be like, all right, and you'll smile that same way. And I'm going to take that credit, man. I'm taking it now, and I'm going to take it then. But anyway, Jimmy Woo has a big history in the Marvel Universe. Way back, like, let's see, when was he first introduced? 1956.
Wow.
Jimmy Woo has been a member of S.H.I.E.L.D. that long. Agents of Atlas. That's the name of the group. There have been different incarnations. There is a comic called Agents of Atlas that you may want to check out. He has another anthropomorphic animal, so I'm not going to say it. But Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu, is also a member of this coalition.
Okay.
And a few other agents that you may or may not know. Some of them are stereotypes. Some of them are not. But Agents of Atlas, you'll find it where your comics are sold. And it's Marvel lore. He has a, let's see, oh yes, there was an old Agents of Atlas, so this wasn't the first incarnation. But if you're looking for something just in that space, anyway, I did all that because Silk is over there, right?
Okay.
But there are probably 15 Spider people on this earth, right? Miles is great. What's up with all the others? We can't get a good writer. We can't get Mark Waid to write his own. Pick a Spider-Man, dude, and just roll with that. And we'll let you go, man. You can do your thing. We're not mad, But anyway, Ages of Atlas is version 3. So there's a version 2, and obviously a version 1 that goes way back. So take a look.
Nice.
They've all been small runs, like 6 to 10 episodes or books. But this is the new one. It's in it's only number 2. So yeah. But there should be more. What were we talking about? Let me go back to what the heck we were even talking about, because I lost myself.
Miles Morales, Spider-Man number 11.
Yes. Okay. So I like Miles. Miles has a get out of jail free card. Even if it's a bad book, I'm going to read it. Because I like the idea of finally a Spider-Man free of his baggage that is loved.
Right.
Because and still has challenges and whatnot, but he's not to responsibility, but it's not crippling, and he doesn't have to be down on his luck. He can get some new shoes. You know what I mean? He can get some hug from his mom and dad. He can get a girlfriend still, without having to be late for the date because he had to fight Doc Ock.
Yeah.
But honestly, my favorite Spider person now is not Miles. It is the Superior Spider-Man.
Yeah, he's really good.
He's amazing. And in the animated series, which I don't watch because it's sort of watered down, this new season, Doc Ock takes over Spider-Man's body. I'm like, wow, we really gonna do this so quickly?
I feel like that's happened a couple of times, hasn't it?
Well, yeah, it has in the comics, but never. I mean,
never to the point to where they thought that Peter Parker was just gone and dead.
Okay.
And
all right.
he's taken over and he's intent on living his life.
Yes. When you see, even in the trailer, when you see Peter Parker talking with the Peter Parker voice, but you could very clearly tell this is Doc Ock writing the words, that's kind of amazing. If it was a better animated series, I would probably watch it, but then I'll probably be buying Disney Plus, so maybe I will.
All right.
See how I put all that together? Woo!
There you go. Manuel, you want to get into your second book of the week?
All right. It is Batman Superman, Volume 2, Issue 2. It's called The Shazam Who Laughs. Now, since this is Issue 2, what happened in Issue 1 was the Batman Who Laughs. You take all the chaos of Joker and that serum that he's trying to impose upon people. What happens if that serum actually gets to Batman and there's no cure? So Batman is essentially his brilliant self, but he has the chaos of the Joker. He's bent on not necessarily destruction, but it's evil, but it's Bruce Wayne evil. So he has contingencies for all these things. And in this issue, you see Shazam actually being infected and trying to infect Batman and Superman. What happens then?
Matt, go for it.
You want me to go first?
Yep.
I'm not very big on this book. I'm sorry. I hate to be a downer. The artwork, I like the base of it. Like David Marquez has done Age of Ultron and a few other big Marvel books, so I'm familiar with this stuff. I like the concept of a crazy Shazam, just because Shazam is sort of childlike anyway. So that's interesting. I feel like the characters are too isolated from the rest of the world in this. I think there's 2 panels where we see more than 2 characters, which is odd for me, I guess. I don't know. Um, the Batman Who Laughs, he's an interesting villain. Um, I don't know. This issue just I don't think was enough to catch me. If I had read one before it, maybe I might have been more interested in the story. Um, yeah, I just don't have a whole lot to say. I didn't like it. I'm sorry, Emmanuel.
Oh, you're good.
All right. So the artwork I liked. It was decent. The close-ups of the faces, once you get the face taking up the whole panel, have some amazing detail on a lot of them. You get the close-up on the Jokerized Shazam, and I read somewhere online he's calling himself King Shazam,
Okay.
which I just like because that's what a kid would say, right?
Mhm.
But when you get those close-ups on Batman's face or close-ups on Shazam's face, because when you pull them out, there's not a lot of detail, but when you bring them in, the detail is kind of amazing. I like the idea here. I like Batman can speak Kryptonian, right? Because I'm Batman.
Right.
Right, come in. That's for me. You know, that's what you just Batman. Because I'm Batman. Do I need another reason? Of course, you speak Kryptonian. You're Batman, right? A dead language, and you still speak it. So I like there's certain beats, certain points in there that I thought were interesting. I feel like though this, and I'm going to agree with Matt. I just did a quick scan of the panels, and in most cases, the background is just a bunch of colors. You know what I mean? Like 2 or 3 colors. There's not a lot of detail behind them. It's really because we want you to see the people in front of them.
Right.
But when you get it's a bunch of colors, some shapes, but not it's vibrant color wise, but it's not, there's not a lot happening behind it. Who is the guy, Frank Quietly? Remember him?
Oh my God.
Right? Who has all this Stark stuff in the background, really, you know what I mean? Often
His
minimalist background.
characters are all gnarled
Yeah,
and mangled and
this is not that bad, but it made me think of that.
okay.
I like the idea here. A Jokerized Shazam excites me. I read the first book already. I read this book, but I feel like it's too much a part of a. This is the problem. I've been in a group where we read comics, and we always present like we're going to read next. We always present it as graphic novels because often one book is not enough. You know what I mean? To
Right.
gain your interest or to keep your interest. This book, in and of itself, is sort of borderline there for me. It's not bad. I like certain things. I like the beats. I like the art, the detail of the faces when you bring them in close.
Yeah.
I really like that, right? But you pull out and Superman is kind of far away, then it's like, whatever kind of artwork. I don't really care. But once you bring them in close, once you get a panel where you got half of Bruce Wayne's face, that is the detail I love. The idea of it, it has the right elements. It just didn't make me say, wow, I got to read more of this. I was kind of already we're going to read more of this because of the idea of it more than what this book compelled me to do. Did I say that right?
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to read more. And you know me, I read all the Scuttlebutt on the web. So there's going to be like 5. He's basically going to Jokerize half the Justice League, right? So who's next after Shazam, right? I want to see that, right? You know, imagine what is a Jokerized Wonder Woman even like? Because it's not a Bizarro Wonder Woman. It's a Joker Wonder Woman. Because I know what a Bizarro Wonder Woman is.
Probably
Yeah.
closer to Harley Quinn.
But with Wonder Woman's level of strength, power, and skill, because you don't lose your skill, right? When you're
Right.
a Bizarro Wonder Woman, you're a dumbass,
Right.
right? So you can't even aim right and you can't even talk straight. But when you're a Jokerized Wonder Woman, you're scary,
Yeah.
right? Would a Jokerized Shazam kill me? Yes. You know what I mean? And not even and just because I happen to be in the room where he didn't want me there. This is a different level of things. But with a Bizarro, Wonder Woman kill me? Probably not.
Speaking of Bizarro, let me throw back to your pick, Matt, in X-Men. Was there a character that spoke like Bizarro? I was getting like a Bizarro Yoda type vibe from one of those characters that
I thought
spoke
it was. I thought it
backwards.
was the Third Summers brother that spoke that way.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's kind of what I alluded to. Like I think it's a Hickman troll. Like this is all
Okay.
it's all just a messed up universe, and it's not
it
actually.
was all a dream.
Yeah, exactly. Like it,
I used to read X-Men magazine.
yeah, exactly. Like we sold a shit ton of X-Men books. Thank you very much. Have fun. Like I don't know,
Okay. Got you.
but
If this is a dream, I'm gonna be really pissed. I'm gonna say because this is your chance. You put X-Men so with House of X and Powers of X. You put X-Men so much back in the spotlight in a world way.
yeah,
To make this all a dream is such a disrespect, outright foul. You know what I mean? You don't come on, dude.
I would go deeper into my X-Men hate hole.
Right? I would have to go there. I'm like, because let's be real, man. We talked about this before House of X and Powers of X. X-Men has fallen off big time.
yeah, yeah.
All of them. You just don't,
Well, I
maybe
will
you get a
say,
Wolverine book, but as a group,
I will say, Uncanny X-Men, the volume right before all the House of X, Powers of X stuff happened. If you like '90s X-Men, Matthew Rosenberg did a really good job with the first arc of Uncanny X-Men on that book. But I don't know. Maybe I'll bring that in a couple of
okay.
weeks or something.
I have one more. See, now you make me go back to the X-Men book. Why is Wolverine there? Wolverine and Slim ain't cool like that.
That
you know why
is-
he's there? Because they numbered the rooms wrong, and he's right next to Jean. I just noticed. Wolverine there is to get him some Jean loving.
That's all right. Did you notice that there is open pathways between the three rooms and Jean's in the middle?
Right? So Jean is doing everybody. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Oh man, Jean, come on now.
I mean,
No wonder
they're in
she quiet.
space.
See
They're
quiet.
liberated.
No wonder she quiet. She tired of servicing two men.
I didn't
We're
want
not
to.
gonna
I
use
didn't,
just
I
a
didn't, I
construct.
didn't want to get into all that because that article that I read on IO9 just ruined X-Men. I don't ever think of my comic book characters in that regard, and I was like,
As sexual beings.
yeah, no,
Yep. Because if you think about it, the White Queen, does anybody ever turn her down? If she want her son, she gonna have some. We think about Mystique. Has anybody turned her down? No. If she want her son, she can have some. And here's another question: is Professor X a villain or not?
Oh, gosh, can of worms. I would
Yeah.
say yes.
Well, I was gonna say, what about what was the? I'm trying to think of who the writer was that did the Illuminati stuff,
I don't know who the writer was.
but that was Professor X, Reed Richards, right?
Black Panther for a moment.
Yeah, they all got together and they were all like, "This is how we control the world," basically.
Yeah.
Well, there need to be a new Illuminati. I mean, let's just be real. You
So
know,
I mean, there's precedent for it
yes.
for Xavier to be.
What is that, Bendis?
Was it Bendis?
Ah, there you go.
I love me
think
some Bendis.
See,
He can do no wrong in my eyes. I love me some Bendis.
a good thing we have Matt to counter you on that conversation.
Well,
Matt gives him a 50-50.
yeah.
I like him because he changes things. He's a disruptor.
So I guess I don't know. I guess what I don't like is he leaves shit, and then how do you? There's no ending. Like
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy, there was a bunch of shit that he never wrapped up. When he was doing all new X-Men, there's a bunch of shit there that just never got wrapped up and was kind
It's
of.
the job.
What?
It's the job of the next writer to write him out of the hole. That's what a writer is supposed to paint himself in a corner and write himself out. That's what a good writer does. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe he's
To your point,
Maybe
he leaves you wanting more.
Yeah, I mean, but maybe he's that good that like nobody else can follow up his stuff, and that's what I'm really disappointed about. That's always a possibility.
So that's pretty much a compliment more so than a critique.
Yeah.
I am inclined to agree. So I will look through the books of this week. There's a on CBR.com. There's a guy that sort of reads everything this week and then tells you what you should buy, what you should read, what you should
Yeah.
pass on. Right? Calls it the buy pile.
Right.
Nothing rose above meh this week for him.
Okay.
For everything that came out this week. Not necessarily terrible. Of course, there's some terrible ones, but nothing rose above eh. And here's okay. So, are you guys just going to do Marvel and maybe Emmanuel? You might do some DC also. Is that all? And is it my job to bring the other?
No, I was planning on bringing in some Image and maybe some throwback Valiant comics.
So
Okay.
it doesn't have to be current, right?
No, yeah,
As long as we can get it and see it
yeah,
the way we're getting it and seeing it.
yeah,
No,
absolutely.
I don't think it does. Unless unless that's something you want, because that means I got to buy books every week, and I may get it next week. You know what I mean? Or the week after, or not at all.
I mean, yeah, I was planning on digging through some back issues and seeing if maybe it's online somewhere for us to share.
But I do have some semi-current stuff to share, but it's not in the top 3 comics.
Okay.
It's not in Marvel, DC, or Image. However, Emmanuel, have you heard of Naomi?
I think I have. The name sounds familiar.
Uh,
Maybe if I look at the cover, maybe it'll spark some.
just the name of the book is Naomi.
It's Image, IDW.
It's DC.
Oh, it's okay.
So I know it's not. I see. I can't. I don't know if I could pitch a DC comic to you, Matt. To go read. 'Cause you might. You need a little different kind of flavor.
No, I mean, part of the reason that I wanted to structure this podcast the way that I did, with us just picking 2 issues and coming in and everybody reads everybody's picks, was because I do need to be challenged a little bit on some of the stuff that I read. I find that when I'm in the comic shop, I'm going with safe bets. I'm going with stuff that I know that I'll probably enjoy. And I knew that you guys would come with books that I probably wouldn't read. So.
And so, okay, I will. I accept that challenge. Challenge accepted.
Naomi is the woman that found out she got superpowers and went to Superman and Batman, right?
Yes,
I read that.
But did you read the 6 books of her life prior to that?
I did not.
Then there you go. 6 books that shows who she was before, where she came from, her whole story. And she's also begun to join Young Justice.
Awesome.
Are you reading Young Justice at all lately?
I am, but sporadically.
Okay. I'm gonna say Young Justice is right up your alley. You know why?
What's that?
I got a new Teen Lantern.
What? Teen Lantern.
Teen Lantern?
She doesn't have her own book, but if you type her into Google, get you some images, you can see Teen Lantern. She's a black girl who has hacked a Green Lantern power battery, hacked it, and is able to use the energy. And she is a teenager.
It's kind of a.
I don't know what country she's from. Yeah, but she shows up for first time in the new Young Justice. And like, if you could hack a lantern, what does that mean? And if you can hack one at 12 or 14, what does that mean about you? Because here's the thing about, in all the Teen Titans, you're always going to have a younger version of the Super 7, right? Right? You're going to have your Batman Jr., your Superman Jr., your Wonder Woman Jr., your Flash Jr., right? But certain things you can't get. You can't get a Hawkman Jr.
Right.
Not really. And you can't get a Green Lantern Jr. until now. But now you also have Jenny Hex, which is, I guess, Jonah Hex's great-granddaughter.
Yeah.
And Amethyst, Princess of Gemworld. I don't know if you ever read that book, but she's also a member. And then you have Connor Kent. And here's the thing. So we got Connor Kent and we got Jonathan Kent. Can they both be Superboy?
I would think they would have to. I mean, it may be like the Flash, how we have Wallace and Wally West.
Yeah, but Wally, the kid is the kid. The one in yellow is still Kid Flash. The
Mhm.
confusion part is the grown Wally West Flash, which,
Right.
by the way, they just made him a murderer,
Yes.
right? Which is, look, Wally West is my Flash, dude. I'm just gonna put it out there. Wally West, of all the Teen Titans, nobody ever took over for and surpassed their mentor, except for Wally West. Wally West became a better, faster, more powerful, more respected Flash than Barry Allen ever was. And then they made
Until they killed his friend or
and-
friends.
but you don't make him a murderer. You don't make Batman a murderer and forgive him later. Come on. You don't. Come on, dude. Why would you? You know what I'm saying? I understand if you want to kill him, kill him. I'm okay with that. Kill Nightwing, whatever. He'll be back, right? But don't make him a murderer. You don't walk that shit back, right? You know what I'm saying? This isn't like the Netflix universe where you kill somebody and we're gonna let that go, right? This is Wally West. This is the shiny. DC is the shiny universe.
He's going through his redemption phase right now, though.
So he's gonna overlook the murders.
I mean,
gonna
maybe with all the
overlook
like
Way
still
Harper's
force and maybe with all the forces, something will happen. They'll revamp that past. I don't know.
Still a murderer. Even if they do that, you don't unmurderer yourself, right? You go to jail for 20 years, murder somebody. When you get out, you're still a murderer, right? You did that.
But he's a Flash. He can go back in time, and their time is malleable. I mean,
Oh
knows?
man, you wanna save him with the get out of jail free card like that? That's
I
what you
mean-
want to use on that?
you're a proponent of this. This murder is a huge thing. You have to have a huge fix, and that
you
get out of
should,
jail free card
unless
will
somebody
be a huge
unless
fix.
somebody did a Brian Michael Bendis and there is no fix.
All right, gentlemen. It's been about 90 minutes. I think it's been a good first episode. Any final thoughts?
Get away from the top 3 comics. There's some great stuff out there.
I agree. Emmanuel?
Still not an X-Men fan.
And on that note, we're done.
Peace.